Okay, this series of video clips looks at project closure and project reviews. We've got to make sure that the project really is finished, so we don't close it prematurely. And we've got to make sure we do close it. And then we're going to have a look at project reviews or project audits. So the learning aims for the module are to look at the end of the project, to make sure it's completed, and to review the project properly. To investigate ways of ensuring the project is finished. We're going to see some checklists of things to do at the end of the project. And then we're going to have a look at the procedure and the reasons for doing a project review or a project audit. So finally, in our project life cycle, the product or the service is in full operation. We finally got to the end. And in the final stages of the project, we're handing it over to the users and the sponsors, who of course will be delighted, and let's hope they're delighted even though they're paying. And the closeout is going to be in two phases. First of all, administration for making sure the project really is closed, and secondly, learning for future projects. If any work comes up after we've closed the project, let's treat it as a new project, a son of or a version 2 project. We need to make sure that we're ready to hand it over to the customer. As we get towards the end of the project, we don't want to be delivering something that's going to upset the customer. It's going to put at risk any future projects we might get from that customer. So let's just check it's suitable to be handed over. We may have to go through a sign-off or an acceptance by the customer. There could be some transfers of ownership of property and rights. This might trigger a final payment for the project. Now, we need this distinct closeout for the project. We need to plan the end of the project in as much detail as we planned the beginning of the project. And the first thing we did at the beginning of the project was to create a work breakdown structure. And when you do that work breakdown structure at the beginning of the project, it's heavily weighted towards the things that you're doing next week, next month. And the close of the project isn't shown in as much detail because that's 3, 6, 9, 12 months away. So we're going to update the work breakdown structure with all the tasks that are required to close out this project. And when we've done this project, it is dead and finished. Any new work, any modifications become a new project that have to go through a business case, that has to be signed off, that has to be paid for. Now, we suggested in an earlier lecture that it's easy to start new projects. Somebody only has to say, wouldn't it be a good idea if, and people agree with them, and a new project has started. The senior managers say, I need you to do this, and a new project has started. We have to make sure that we close out the projects as frequently as we start them up, because if we don't, the number of projects in our organization will just grow and grow and grow. Or we will find people devoting time to projects that should have been closed out or even were closed out a long time ago. So let's look at the work breakdown structure for the end of the project. A closeout or a project review phase. Having a checklist to make sure that you've closed the project. Issue a closeout checklist. We'll look at that in the next few slides. Gaining some feedback from the customer or client on how the project has gone for them. And holding that project review. Now, you need to do this as soon as you can, because at the end of the project, the staff start to leave because they want to join the next project. I could contradict myself here because automotive projects can be 5, 6, 7 years long. And then staff don't want to leave because they've generated an expertise around that vehicle. And when they leave and join the next new project, they're equal to everybody else. Their expertise has been lost. So, got to be careful. It's an important phase. Sometimes staff want to leave, sometimes staff don't want to leave. The customer is starting to see this finished service product, and he's saying, I don't like it, I want changes made. We have to manage those changes. The senior managers want to pinch our resources to work on the next projects. So we're fighting resource issues. We may have spent all of the money. We may have run out of time and resources. So the end of a project is a very difficult phase. So let's just make sure we have end. Have we really finished? Have we delivered all of those project deliverables that were written in the project specification? Have we done all of the documents, the acceptance testing, the training manuals, the installation? Are there 0 defects remaining? Is the customer happy? Have we paid all of our invoices? Have our contractual obligations been fulfilled? Have we met all of the objectives that we set out to do? And these next 4 slides will look at some of the things that could go on a checklist. I'm not going to read them all. Let's just pick out a few. Is the customer happy? Well, customers are never happy, but you need him happy enough so that he pays for this project and he invests in the next project. Have you done your project review, your project audit? That's the subject of the next video clip, but it's part of your checklist. The project is not closed until you've done that. Have you had a post-project party? Do you know, if people have worked well on your projects, they've delivered what they said that they were going to do, and their estimates were reasonably accurate, you want them working with you on the next project. So let's organise a post-project party, a celebratory event. Let's say thank you to the people who have been working on our project. And then next time you find them working with you, they'll be delighted to join you. They'll be motivated to join you on the next project. Just saying thank you to staff, issuing a thank you letter. It's free. I don't mean an email. I don't mean a post-it note stuck on their computer screens. I mean something on company letter-headed note paper from you, the project manager, saying thank you for your contribution. Copy it to their head of department. It helps motivate the staff. They're more happy to work for you on the next project. Look, in some organisations, you may be empowered to give people bonuses. I've never come across that personally. If you're not empowered to give them bonuses, just thank them for doing the work. It doesn't cost you anything, it's free, and it's a recognition of their work. You don't always have to reward people for hard work. Just saying thank you and recognising it is often enough. So, if the project really is finished, it's time for that project review. What went well? Why did it go well? And how can it go better on the next project? Were you just lucky? Were you going to be unlucky on the next project? So you need to understand what went well and why it went well. And then you can say, well, what didn't go so well? And why didn't it go so well? And this is just a nicer way of saying what went wrong. If you say to people what went wrong, they're going to say, well, nothing. So start off by asking them what went well, and then say, well, what didn't go as well as it might have done? And you start to learn how you could make it go better on the next project. So closing out the project, really important. It frees up the resource for the next projects, and the project is not closed until you have a project review.